Waverly Labs innovates again in real-time language translation. That's our Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin. With us from Waverly Labs is co-founder Sergio Diaz. Hi, Sergio.
Hey, how's it going, Fred? Thanks for having us here.
Great to see you. So let's start out with a little background, first off, about Waverly Labs.
Right. So we at Waverly Labs have been working in the translation field for almost 8 years now. The first product we launched went kind of viral. We did a crowdfunding campaign that raised almost 8 million for our first device. There was a little red earbud that you would place inside your ear, and it would be translating almost like a babblefish. That one was called the pilot. And in the last 8 years, we've been learning a lot from machine translation, real-time translation, new algorithms. So we've been working on this field for the last 8 years, just trying to provide better and better solutions. Organically, like a lot of institutions, schools, hospitals, churches, etc., starting approaching us because they had needs for translating one-to-many. And we saw this problem and we wanted to solve it because it's a big one. So that's why we designed Forum. Now it's only an app. You don't need to buy the device per se. It's only an app, but it was born out of that need, out of that pain of the ability to communicate with a large group. So that's a bit of the story of Waverly Labs. We have more products. Our first product was the pilot. Then we released the second one called Ambassador. That was a bigger earpiece that would go on top of your ear, easier to share. Then we did another product. That one's also kind of in development, but it's called Subtitles. It's a long screen. And what it would do is put subtitles in real life. So let's say I'm in a train station or whatever in France, and I want to buy a ticket. I would just order everything in English, and the guy inside the ticket machine would see everything written in French. And then we kind of have a conversation, almost like as if you're in a Netflix movie, but in real life, right? And now Forum that we just launched last week.
So tell us, step us through the user experience of how Forum works.
How Forum works? Well, let's say you're a teacher, right, or a preacher that you want to start a session. So you just go. There are just two buttons. One is like join a session. The other one is start a session. You click start a session. You put the title if you want, and select your language, and that's it. The app will give you a code, a 6-digit code or a QR code. Then people can join through the app. They just type the code or scan it, and everybody could have different languages. So let's say you're in a church, right? So part of your congregation speaks Spanish, part of it speaks Portuguese, part of it speaks Arabic. It doesn't matter. You can always be speaking English, and it will be simultaneously translated to up to 20 languages at the same time, right? And you could be having a large crowd. Let's say you have 2,000 people, 5,000 people. It doesn't matter because we're streaming the same language to all of them, right? So we can handle like big groups as well. And in case maybe in church you don't really have questions, right? But let's say you're in a class and you have questions, people can reply and people can ask stuff or participate in their own language. So let's say you're having a class, you have a new kid that comes from Honduras that it's just joining the class. You don't want to have a separate class just for him. So he could be asking questions directly in Spanish. The teacher will hear them in English, and everybody else could also hear them in English. So it's almost like not fully erasing, but somehow diminishing the language barriers.
Very, very interesting. So how does this work from the financial point of view? Does everybody participating need a subscription, or how does it work?
Yeah, actually, only in this case, the teacher would have to pay for it. So listening and receiving the translation, it's free, right? But we also give 40 minutes of free recording per month. So it's more like a freemium model. If you want to use it intensely, then there are like plans from $7, $7.99 a month, then $12. Depends on how many hours of recording you're going to be using, right? But let's say if you're like a normal school, the only one that would need to get a premium subscription would be the teacher. But she could have 60 kids, 100 kids. It doesn't matter. It would be just one single price for her or him.
And everybody would bring up the app on their phone. Is that how it would work? And
yeah, actually, it works on the phone. We have it for Android, iOS, and also web. So we've seen like a lot of the schools, they use Chromebooks. It's also compatible with a Chromebook. So, because a lot of schools wouldn't allow their kids to be using their phones during class, right? Which makes sense, which makes a lot of sense. But they can use Chromebooks. So that way they can just receive the translation, almost like you can, minimize the window, just have it in the background. It's almost like a training wheel when you're trying to learn how to ride a bike or something. This could be something that would diminish fear and would diminish this anxiety of participating because you don't really know what's going on. A lot of people would have okay-ish English, but this is like a backup that they might be kind of understanding what's going on, but this would give them certainty. So this is like an additional tool that they could, and it could be used, in restaurants, construction, business, finance, international organizations, global. Like it's not limited to churches or schools, but it's like just a case that we've seen a lot. But like the applications are limitless. There are a lot of international corporations, Japanese corporations based in the US, French corporations based in Latin America. There's a lot of global commerce that sometimes you would get like a very restricted, limited, basic communication. Because everybody has like a little, like a decent level of English, but when it's your own language, you can really express assertively what you want to say, and you really feel confident to, get your opinion heard. So this tool could enable you to really get your voice out there. So yeah.
What's the story behind it? This whole effort, Sergio. How
Yeah.
and why did this come about?
Yeah, well, I guess you can tell by my accent on my name. Most of the company, it's made out of, let's say, immigrants or people that we all lived in our lives the frustration and the fear of getting to a new place, not speaking the language, feeling somehow excluded from society. And it doesn't only happen with like arriving to the US. Like you arrive to any other place. Let's say you're an American citizen that wants to move to France. You're pretty much out of the game. You want to move to China, you're almost excluded. So, but we have personally felt the pain of not speaking the language perfectly. So we have this personal drive and motivation of solving that pain, that problem. We have people from France, Mexico, Uzbekistan. We're like, although we have all relocated, we have all this like international background, and we've seen it, which is also great because we can validate that the translations are accurate and that the speed of the translation is decent. Like it gives us an extra hand, So it's not only programming; it's also the user experience.
And you said there are how many languages now that you work with?
We have 20 languages, but on top of that, we have 42 dialects, which means that we don't only translate English to Spanish, we translate British English to, let's say, Argentinian Spanish, right? It gives you that level of granularity and control because it's different. Mexican Spanish is different than Spanish from Spain, right? So that also gives you a lot more control and accuracy on the speech recognition.
Let's show a little bit of what this can do.
Yeah.
So this is Waverly Labs Forum. Tell us how this works now.
Lo que hace este dispositivo es que está grabando mi voz. En cuanto yo empiezo a hablar, tú vas a ver la transcripción de lo que estoy diciendo. Y cuando yo termine la frase, se va a mandar la traducción.
What this device does is that it is recording my voice as soon as I start speaking. You will see the transcript of what I am saying, and when I finish the sentence, it will send the translation.
La velocidad de la traducción es un factor importante para nosotros, porque eso te permite mantenerte al corriente con lo que está ocurriendo en el evento al que estás asistiendo.
The speed of translation is an important factor for us, because it allows you to keep up to date with what is happening at the event you are attending.
And then when I'm speaking English, it will translate this into Spanish for you.
Exactamente. Lo entendiste perfectamente.
Exactly what you understood perfectly.
So Sergio, for this to be very successful, obviously the accuracy has to be very good. So tell us how you're able to do this. And are you competing with companies like Google with Google Translate, or do you see this as a separate kind of use case scenario?
We are focused more on conversations and long sessions, right? Like if you want to go into a restaurant in Shanghai and ask where's the restroom, like honestly, just use Google Translate. That's going to be faster, and it's accurate most of the time. But if you want to engage in a meeting or something, using Google Translate, copy paste, like send, throw the phone back again, and especially if you have more than two people, that's going to become impossible with Google Translate, right? So I think we solve a different problem. We solve a problem for real life when you really want to engage in a conversation, right? It could be bidirectional, it could be just one too many, but it's going to be more than one or two phrases. So for that specific use case, that's the pain that we're solving, and it's actually pretty common. We've seen a lot of people going to a pregnancy clinic or to the dentist and whatever, and they do want to fully and assertively express what's going on, but it's kind of hard to do that with Google Translate, especially if it's a back and forth and stuff. So I guess we're like an indirect competitor, but we're focused on a whole different problem. Also, this could be used remotely. I mean, we're using it remotely right now, right? So let's say you have an international company, you could be using this in tandem to your Google Meets or whatever conversations you can have. And actually, you can feed the audio directly into the phone as well. If you get a TRRS adapter, let's say the outsource of your audio could be plugged in directly. So if you want to translate a video call, seminar, a webinar, whatever, that's another possibility that you could provide. Let's say you organize a webinar, maybe a yoga webinar, regardless. You don't really care about that, but it's a bonus or a plus that you can offer to your customers that, oh, by the way, for all our international crew, you can receive translation in whatever language that you want, right? So it's like an added value.
Very interesting. So tell us again about the plans that you offer. There is the free version, and then beyond that, to tell us how the subscriptions work.
So it's free. The free version, you can get 40 minutes of recording, let's say, every month. And you can have sessions of up to 5 people. But you get everything else. You can download the transcripts. You can host a session. You can join unlimited sessions. Say you're a student, you can, you also have the custom terms. But in all the other plans, let's say you get the $7.99, you get 5 hours of interpretation. So that means 5 hours of recording. So you can have a meeting of maybe an hour, but you're not speaking for the full hour, right? Maybe if your meeting lasts an hour, you might be speaking 30 minutes or 20 minutes. It's only those 10 or 20 minutes while you were recording that are deducted from your time. And that's it. You can host unlimited sessions, download the transcript. And also something very interesting is this we call custom vocabulary. Sometimes you're in an organization, right? Or Techstination, for example, it's a very specific word that maybe some ASR engines wouldn't recognize on the first try, but you can pre-populate that. So the vector increases and it's more likely that it would recognize Techstination. So that becomes, but it could be acronyms, it could be the name of your hospital, it could be the name of your firm, it could be the name of your students. So that's something also to consider. And then if you need, the double of hours, $14.99, and 24 hours, $24.99. And well, there are some costs. I mean, just running a business, it has a lot of cost, but also the engines that we use, we get some cost, right? For example, the digital voice that you receive, we have to pay for that service. So it's also kind of helping us cover those expenses. But in comparison to the alternatives, when you sign up in a meeting and you want to maybe use a human translator, whatever, you would be paying $280, $300 and something per hour. So this is a very substantial saving. If you can afford it, of course, having a human translator, it's really nice. But a lot of people would go into the doctor, to legal procedures, to meetings. Maybe they even buy a house without fully knowing and understanding what's going on. because the price is just prohibitive for them, you know. So this is giving everybody an alternative to provide translation.
Terrific. Well, congratulations on the innovations, Sergio. Again, for more information or to give this a try, where should people go?
They could try it at forum.waverlylabs.com, or they could go to waverlylabs.com and there's a link right there. And it's, you know, free for the first 40 minutes, and that renews every month. So yeah, it's actually pretty fun to use, especially when you use it with a language that you don't really understand anything, like, you know, English, Chinese, Arabic, Spanish. It's super fun. It's almost like magical to see that you understand what's going on. It's super fun.
Again, it's forum.waverlylabs.com. Sergio Diaz, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Oh, thank you very much, Fred. It was fantastic.